Hi, everyone. There aren't however, YouTube channel if they so wish. So, first, I want to thank everyone for coming. Um, these have been going on since the spring, these geo talks, and they've been really successful. We've had a lot of great feedback and so many fantastic presenters. So we're really happy to facilitate bringing them to you. I'd like to remind everyone that it is recorded. So if you don't want your face shown, you might want to turn off your camera and please mute your microphones unless you have a question. You can always type the questions in the chat at any time, but if you have a question you would like to ask, we ask that you wait until the end so that it doesn't cause any, stepping on words or anything of anyone else. Well, I think that's it for me. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. Today, our speaker is Dr. Meisam Amani, who is the senior remote sensing specialist at Wood. He's actually my colleague. He has over 11 years of applications. Working at a global company has helped him work with various groups on remote sensing projects, and they are very interesting and widely varied, and I can't wait to hear about them. So he's going to tell us in his talk entitled Remote Sensing Solutions for Industry Challenges. All right, so Meisam, I will hand the share over to you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Candice. Let me see if I can. Okay, let me know when you see my screen, please.
I can see it.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks. Thanks for the invite and hello, everyone. So, as Candice mentioned, my name is Meisam Amani, and I'm a senior remote sensing scientist and key specialty leader at Wood PLC. I just can just a minute. I think there's something. Let me see. Okay, sorry. Can you see my screen again?
Yep, no problem.
Okay, good. So yeah, so my name is Meisam Amani, and I'm a senior remote sensing scientist and key specialty leader of data analytics at Wood PLC. As Candice mentioned, I have over 11 years of experience in working with different remote sensing datasets for various applications. And in this presentation, I'll talk about some industrial project examples along with the challenges that we faced and how we use remote sensing technology to solve them. This presentation can also help you to know how remote sensing technology can save time and money and also improve safety in the projects. So before starting my presentation, here is a brief introduction about our global company. So Wood PLC is a global consulting and engineering company and has over 60,000 employees in more than 60 countries. We provide consultancy, engineering, construction, and operational services across a broad range of sectors like oil and gas, government, mining, and power. And this global presence actually has helped me to work with different groups on different remote sensing projects worldwide, mostly in UK, Canada, and also recently in Middle East. So the first part of my presentation is about remote sensing and the general concepts and different remote sensors and platforms. And this part of my presentation is a little bit technical, but it's necessary to have a better understanding when we will talk about remote sensing project examples. So please bear with me for a couple of minutes. Remote sensing is simply defined as the science of obtaining information about Earth and also its atmosphere from sensors which are installed on some platforms like UAVs, aircrafts, and satellites. And actually, a remote sensing system has two basic components, which are a sensor and a platform. So the sensor is the instrument which records data, and the platform is the vehicle used to deploy that sensor. Each remote sensor measures electromagnetic radiation, which is reflected or emitted or backscattered from Earth, from different targets on Earth. And remote sensing, it's all about recording these electromagnetic energy and analyzing it to get some useful information from various objects on Earth. A simple example of a remote sensing system is a human. So actually our body is a platform and our eyes are sensors which collect electromagnetic energy only in the visible part of the electromagnetic spectrum. But satellites can measure electromagnetic energy within a wider range of spectrum. So we have more information and we have more data set to process to get useful information. So let's talk about sensors. And remote sensors are generally divided into two groups of passive and active. So passive sensors are actually collect reflected or emitted electromagnetic energy from Earth. For example, sun sends electromagnetic energy to Earth, and then satellites collect the reflected energy from different targets. And since different targets have different spectral information characteristics, so we can discriminate, for example, discriminate them to different land covers or land use classes. On the other hand, there are active sensors which have their own source of illumination. For example, microwave systems send microwave energy to Earth and collect the backscattered energy from different targets. And since these active sensors have their own source of illumination, they can operate during both day and night, and also in cloudy, rainy, and almost snowy conditions. So these sensors are widely used in Canada because of the frequent cloud cover and usually, I could say, bad weather conditions that we have in most parts of Canada. The most commonly used active sensors are radar and LiDAR. So as I mentioned, each remote sensor should be installed on some platforms. And in this slide, you see different platforms that are commonly used. Each of these platforms has its own advantages and limitations, and that's why a proper platform should be selected based on the application that we are looking for. For example, if the objective is mapping a very large area with a limited amount of budget, we may go with open access satellite imagery. But if we want to get very detailed information from a small area, we may select a drone. Okay, that's it. So let's talk about some real project examples and see how remote sensing can help us in a variety of applications. The first project example is about high resolution habitat mapping. As you know, land use and land cover classification is one of the key inputs for various projects. And about this project, I should say that so the story starts by contacting one of our big clients in UK and asking us to investigate some methods to replace their field surveys with more advanced and more cost-effective solutions. Actually, the field surveys, they were doing this habitat mapping using field surveys for over many years, and these field surveys were very expensive and not practical, especially when they wanted to update their maps. So we proposed using remote sensing technology to map these habitats with a high level of accuracy. So we initially bought a half-meter world view to image over 30 square kilometer area and performed habitat classification as a pilot project. And in this pilot project, we used the most recent remote sensing technology and advanced object-based image analysis. And as you see, we properly, accurately actually identified 14 different classes using this high spatial resolution image and with the remote sensing and machine learning algorithms. After delivering the results of this pilot project, the client was very happy with the results and decided to use remote sensing in their works. So right now we are doing several projects for this client, and these projects are not only about habitat mapping, but also they're about other environmental and ecological applications. Okay, 3D habitat mapping. So as I mentioned, land cover and land use classification is the main component in different projects, but using only multispectral satellite image, like the one I showed in the previous slide, we can only get planimetric location of the habitats. But sometimes a client need to have a real view of the study area, for example, before sending the employees to the field. And actually, they need a 3D map of the study area to have a real view of the entire study area. And for this application, ARIS is a great solution. So actually, the planimetric information and the type of land covers can be generated from the high resolution multispectral satellite images, and the elevation can be generated from LiDAR sensors. So if we combine these two data sets, we can produce 3D maps. And these 3D maps are very useful products for many applications like flood mapping, watershed management, defining optimum, I think, optimum routes for pipelines and transmission lines. In this project, which was done for the same client in UK, we combined high-resolution multispectral and LiDAR images along with machine learning and object-based image analysis to produce an accurate 3D habitat map. Let me play this video so you can see the general procedure. So this is the half-meter spatial resolution world view 2 image. And if you zoom in, you can see lots of details like single trees, buildings, even there are some white points, which are, I think, sheeps there. So you can see lots of detail. And after classification, using those machine algorithms, you will have a habitat map. And this is a planimetric information about the habitat. So you have, for example, the classes on the left side. Each color actually shows a specific class. And if you compare them, you can see how beautifully actually these remote sensing methods identify different land covers. And then, so this is one component of the 3D habitat map. On the other hand, we have the LiDAR normalized DSM model, actually DSS, this digital surface model, which shows the elevation of different objects over our study area. So you see, for example, the top of the trees, and these LiDAR data was not very high resolution, but it still was good enough for our project. So if we combine that land cover classification with these LiDAR data, we will have these 3D habitat map, which is very useful. It's And the client really liked the product and the demonstration of these type of 3D maps. Okay, good. So wetlands, my favorite topic actually. I did my PhD and the topic of my PhD was wetland mapping in Newfoundland. So I really like wetland classification, and even right now we are doing some wetland projects for government, especially Natural Resources Canada. So, as you know, wetlands are great resources and provide various services to both human and environment, and that's why actually they are called kidneys of environment. And that's why it's important to know the location, extent, and the type of wetlands in Canada, because a large portion of Canada is covered by wetlands. Some people say it's 20% of the country is covered by wetlands. And although field survey is the most accurate approach to find the location and type of wetlands, it's not practical when we are talking about wetland classification over large remote areas. In this case, the remote sensing is the only practical and cost-efficient approach because most of these areas are inaccessible. In this slide, you see the first Canada-wide wetland inventory map that we produced for Natural Resources Canada in 2019. And in this project, we used, for the first time, we used Google Earth Engine cloud computing platform, along with very advanced machine learning and big data processing algorithms to process about 30,000 Landsat satellite images only in a day. It was, I could say, 24 hours, which is great achievement using these type of cloud computing methods. And the accuracy of the final Canada-wide wetland map was around 75%. It wasn't high, but it was reasonable considering the challenges that we had to classify the entire country. And this project is also, as I mentioned, this wetland project is also ongoing, and we're improving the proposed cloud computing method to produce an improved version of the CWI, Canadian Wetland Inventory Map, for Natural Resource Canada. So assessing the health of vegetations are also important in different environmental projects. And for example, human activities cause stress to ecosystems, and they decrease these human activities decrease the habitat's diversity, resilience, and their health. And sometimes it's really, especially over urban areas, it's required to assess the health of vegetation. And if we assume that we want to assess the health of all vegetation covers over a large urban area, this will be very labor intensive and of course very expensive. And even we won't be able to consider all vegetation covers using these field surveys. But there's a remote sensing system called hyperspectral sensor, which contains hundreds of spectral bands and are very valuable for condition assessment. Actually, having hundreds of spectral bands in a sensor means that we have more information about vegetation, and we can analyze their health and condition in an efficient method. In this work, actually, this was also a case study done for a client. We discriminated healthy and stressed grasslands over an urban area using a hyperspectral sensor. And then, as you see, we can efficiently use hyperspectral datasets collected by airplanes or UAVs to help ecologists to monitor the habitat's condition over a large area or within a long period of time. This slide is about change detection using multi-date satellite dataset. And as you know, landscapes are changing over time. because of various factors, and some of these changes have negative impacts on our lives.
Lose you? Okay, no. Okay, great.
Candace, can you hear me well? I can't hear you, okay. Can you hear me okay, Candace? Okay, so change detection, as I mentioned, so remote and change detection, if you want to do change detection over large area using field survey, this will be very expensive, and even it won't be possible when we are talking about change analysis over several years. But remote sensing is a great tool for change analysis because we have access to consistent archive satellite images back to, let's say, 1980. And the revisit time of these sensors are, let me see, and the remote sensing, we have access to archive consistent satellite images, and we can efficiently do change analysis. In this slide, I provided two examples of change detection using remote sensing. And the first project is about flood mapping. And for flood mapping, I should say that radar remote sensing provide great opportunity in especially in some areas like Canada, because other satellite images like optical satellite images cannot be used, but radar can penetrate to the clouds, or even can measure during rainy days, and we can get information from Earth. So this project, the flood mapping projects, was purely office-based without any need to go to the field, and a project like this takes under 40 hours to be completed. The second project example about change detection is about deforestation that we did by analyzing the changes over an area in UK using free European satellite images. As you see in the upper left images, some deforestation have occurred from 2014 to 2015, and some of the woodlands were actually changed to bare land. And using remote sensing, we automatically detect these changes, so we can tell our clients what has been changed to what, or tell why these changes have occurred and how we can stop disappearing valuable habitats. Okay, let's talk about another important application of remote sensing, which is drought monitoring. As you know, there are many countries that have experienced major droughts especially in recent years, and it is also expected that most areas become even drier because of increasing temperature and decreasing rainfall in future. And for drought monitoring, I should say that we need to assess some key parameters like land surface temperature, soil moisture, and vegetation status. And when we are talking about drought monitoring over large countries and over several past years, remote sensing can be very beneficial. Actually, RS is a great tool for dryness estimation and drought monitoring because of the timely and cost-effective nature of this technology, especially when applied to regional and national scales. For example, in this slide, you see dryness estimation over Australia, which is actually one of the driest countries in the world. And through this work, we developed a new dryness index by combining three information of land surface temperature, vegetation status, and soil moisture content, which were all derived from satellite images to support drought early warning system. This project is also an interesting one. So you know that a large portion of Canada is covered by water bodies, and especially in remote areas, and water quality monitoring over these lakes and rivers are very important. But using field surveys is very expensive, and even sometimes it's not possible because of the remoteness of these water bodies. But we can efficiently do these water quality monitorings using free, consistent archive satellite images. Remote sensing can get useful information in a cost and time efficient approach about water quality, and for this application we can use both multispectral or hyperspectral remote sensors, and we can actually perform spectral analysis of satellite or UAV images to assess the quality of water bodies. This project actually was done by our office in San Diego, and they mapped harmful algal blooms using both field surveys and remote sensing methods. And because the client wanted us to monitor these lakes over several years, would use free Sentinel-2 satellite images to be able to update the information regularly over these lakes with minimum costs. River detection, I will briefly talk about this. So the monitoring river and lake ice in Canadian provinces, and getting information about the breakup and freeze up times are important for different applications, like assessing the danger of floods. This is very important for the rivers near to the cities, and if you want to use field surveys, it will be labor intensive, and many safety standards should be also considered. But and even there are also although there are some instruments that we can install on some specific places and get information about the river ice, but these sensors are usually expensive, and also the maintenance of these sensors are very expensive. But on the other hand, we have there are satellite data sets that can be efficiently used for this application, and in this regard, radar, as I mentioned previously mentioned, are the best data sets, especially in Canada, where clouds are frequent and optical satellite images cannot be used. For example, in the middle image, you see that the clouds, this is an optical image, and we can't see under the clouds because because these are the optical satellite images. But on the right side, you see radar images, and we can easily discriminate ice cover by these radar data sets. Okay, as you know, power and transmission line sets must be periodically monitored and inspected to ensure reliability and longevity. And traditionally, this was done by field surveys, like traveling on foot, or visual observation and video recording from helicopters. And these are actually labor intensive and with limited detection rate and uncertainty due to human observation, and also limitation in automation. But we can use high resolution LiDAR point cloud along with advanced machine learning algorithms to automatically monitor power lines. And this can significantly increase safety and reduce costs for our clients. I should say that, I mean, generally geomatics and remote sensing mapping are all moving toward the 3D mapping, and for this, LiDAR datasets play the key role. In this slide, I provided some examples of 3D mapping of vegetation along the transmission lines using using LiDAR systems mounted on a car and a helicopter. Let me play these videos so you see the general procedure. So the blue lines are and these actually products are obtained from LiDAR point cloud data. The blue lines are the transmission line, and the red color shows the vegetation and actually the trees. And as the color get reddish, it means that the vegetation are closer to the lines and are more dangerous. And you can see that this is the distance from vegetation, from the vegetation to transmission line. So we can put a specific threshold, for example, 1.5 meters, and define the risky areas, or even calculate the amount of vegetation cover which should be cut. And all of these can be done automatically. You know, after acquiring the LiDAR data, we can generate a platform to automatically get the data and produce these results and automatically define the risky areas. And even people can have access to these products before going to the field. And this is based on the LiDAR data system mounted on a car. So we have a bottom-up view, but it's still for the same application, just finding the risky areas along the urban power lines. Okay, this case study is about archaeological application of remote sensing, and I should say that remote sensing is also a great tool for archaeological applications. For example, there's no need to direct contact with the archaeological objects, and there is also a possibility of revisiting the site and assessing the condition of objects. Recently also drones, for example, are widely used for archaeological applications. So the drones can speed up the process of surveying, and also we can easily access to a dangerous and inaccessible areas. Remote sensing actually can help archaeologists by producing the 3D model of archaeological features to be used in for example, in their documentation. And as I mentioned, also, although LiDAR data are great resources for 3D mapping, but these data are usually expensive, and sometimes we don't have enough budget to get LiDAR data. For 3D mapping, there is another remote sensing method called close-range photogrammetry, which is way more cheaper and with reasonable accuracy. So this is just close-range photogrammetry is just generally capturing photos from different viewing angles, like this one here, and just giving these, let's say, hundreds of images to the software and produce the 3D map of the study area. Let me play this video to see the 3D map. This is a lion in one of the parks in Ottawa. I just took about 60 images from just around this lion, so you can see how accurately we can measure the different distance after producing with millimeter relative accuracy, actually with distance accuracy. We can produce these models, and these are can be generated in a very cheap method. And you even can collect the imagery using your cell phone and then use open source software packages to generate these 3D models. The other one is about a historical kitchen in again, Ottawa. Actually, we were walking in a trail with my wife, and just we had a camera. So I said, just for 5 minutes, give me 5 minutes. And I took about 150 images from this historical kitchen, and within sometimes processing takes time, but Yeah, it took for me 2 days to process these 150 images and produce this 3D model of the kitchen. And this is not a perfect model. You see some errors on the top, but it was just only for a case study. These are easily can be removed. Okay, good. Okay, I only have 2 projects here about MetOcean. I know I'm a little bit late. So just the first MetOcean project example is about fog detection and nowcasting. And this is about a multi-million projects about fog detection over Grand Banks, Newfoundland's offshore environment. And look at the image on the left side, which shows fog over an oil and gas platform in NL offshore. And assume a helicopter pick up some important people from St. John's to go to this platform. And it usually takes 3 hours to arrive this platform. And when they arrive there, the pilot sees a dense fog over the platform with zero visibility. So he or she can't land on the platform and comes back to St. John's while wasted the people's time and a lot of money. Actually, for example, each flight can cost over $5,000, and they are doing this several times every day. So you see how it is important for these oil and gas companies to predict fog around their platforms and to save money and time. And here the meteorological satellites comes to help. Actually, the meteorological satellite have geostationary orbits. They orbits located about 36,000 kilometers above the Earth, and they're looking at a specific area, and that's why they can collect very frequent images like 10 minutes imagery over a specific area. So in this project, we used very advanced, machine learning, like deep learning algorithms to automatically ingest these satellite images, apply our algorithm, and get the frequent fog maps over this area. And then the algorithm takes a sequence of previous fog maps and predict probability of fog for upcoming few hours using the deep learning algorithms. And final project is about wind estimation, and it's done for the same client. And ocean wind is also very important for these oil and gas companies because, like high winds can generate ocean waves up to 20 meters in these areas, which can be a serious threat to these platforms. And considering the large remoteness of the ocean environment, satellites are a great resources for this type of application. So in this project, we used a combination of different satellites, Sentinel, different scatterometers, radiometers, and synthetic aperture radar to put all of them together to produce frequent ocean wind maps from this area. So the ocean wind generated from scatterometers and radiometers and radar actually data updates each 6 hours, and the wind maps produced by GO16 updates each 10 minutes. Okay, thanks. So just I think that was all the project example I wanted to talk. And these were only just some part of the remote sensing capabilities, but there are other applications that we are currently actually operationally are using remote sensing technology to solve these industrial challenges. I'm not going to detail of these projects or applications, just I try to cover the main applications and main project examples that we've done over several years, and hopefully it was useful to just know how remote sensing can save time, money, and improve safety for the clients. Yeah, thanks for the attention, and I'm open for any question if you have.
That was wonderful. Thank you very much, Meisam. Very interesting.
Thanks.
All right,
Thanks.
you're welcome. I'll open it up to questions first. If anyone has any questions, you can speak up or type them in the chat. Up to you. I know I have a question. What do you use
And this,
open source information or open source software rather for your 3D models? I saw one was Agisoft, but
mhm.
what was the
So
other one
for
that you did the lion in?
So I actually for these 3D models I used a combination of actually three software packages I used because each of these software packages are more easier, or some of them has better toolboxes tools, and I used like a combination of Mesh Labs and AGI Soft and Autodesk software packages. And for example, Autodesk was just I got it like 15 days demo mode of these, but generally mainly I use AGI Soft and MeshLab.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. That is interesting. Does anybody have any questions? I have one more, but I'll let other people ask if they have it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my question just flew out of my head. Darn. I don't know. I can't remember it. Oh goodness. No, I really appreciated that you related it back to saving money for the company, because of course that's what most companies do want to do, is as much as they can for as little as possible.
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah. Yeah. There is a question from Logan Robertson. He says, you mentioned at the start of the presentation that these videos, oh, this is for me, are available
Yeah.
on YouTube. Yeah. Yes, Logan. GANS, the Geomatics Association in Nova Scotia, we have our own YouTube channel. So you can find all of these videos there. So Mesam's will be up. It might take a week or two, maybe 3 to get it up there, but it will be up there. And you can find more information on our website about that, or also we have them listed on LinkedIn or maybe our Facebook as well. Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks. The YouTube, it's really wonderful. I mean, we know not everyone can make it to presentations midday, midweek. So I think it's a game changer being able to record them and post them on the internet. It's wonderful. Yeah. My previous question, my other question actually, Mason, was about the hyperspectral imagery. And I know that you would use that for the health, mapping the healthy grass and that. Um, do you do you see any other maybe like non-vegetation uses for hyperspectral imagery in industry work? Have you ever come across that?
Yeah, I know, for example, hyperspectral data are used for mineral application to just discriminate different mineral stones. And the other applications, if I remember, I know for agriculture, they're using for agricultural, again, the same application like cropland health assessment. And generally, I think the hyperspectral can be used in two ways. One, when you want to assess the condition assessment, different objects, even for water quality assessment, sometimes you will have a better results compared to multispectral data. And the other application of hyperspectral is the times that you want to produce, for example, habitat classification with more classes. For example, over using this multispectral data, although we discriminated 14 different classes, but sometimes the accuracy is lower. But if we use hyperspectral data, we can definitely discriminate more habitat classes.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. Okay,
And
thanks. I love hyperspectral. I'd love to work with it sometime, but it's so expensive. I've not used it myself.
yeah, sure. And you
It's
usually need, some software packages like
yeah.
Envy to process these hyperspectral data.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is expensive, more expensive than some software packages like eCognition or PCI.
Yeah, it is a bit more complex than just a multi-band raster, isn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, lots of noisy bands and lots of more works to just generate useful information.
Great. Okay. Thanks. All right. Well, I will share my screen here again and just wrap it up. There's not a whole lot um, for me to say that I have not already said. There we go. All right. Sorry, everyone. Computer newbie. Okay, great. So I won't go through our past presenters, but I just wanted to wrap it up by saying that we are planning to have a talk in 2 weeks on Thursday, October 15th. We just haven't solidified the speaker yet. So please take a look at our website and social media channels. Sign up for our newsletter if you don't get it already, and we'll broadcast it as soon as we know who that is. But in the meantime, I want to thank Meisam so much for his presentation. So if you could all just take yourselves off of mute and let's give him a round of applause, that would be really wonderful. Thank you very much, Meisam. It was incredibly interesting,
Oh,
and I loved all of the really awesome graphics. Like, that's the
oh,
key to a good presentation.
no problem, and thanks for the invite, Candice. Thanks.
No problem. All right, everyone. Hope to see you in a couple weeks. Stay safe. Take care.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye now.